Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully everyone can hear us okay. So our speaker today is Daisy Magnus-Aryitey. Daisy is the co-founder of Code the Dream, a nonprofit tech startup in Durham that provides systemic access to economic opportunity through tech education. She's formerly a software developer at Duke's Office of Information Technology and has a master's in educational innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship from UNC Chapel Hill. She's an active speaker in the community and enjoys discussing where technology, education, and equity intersect, and will share some of that insight with us today. We'd like to give a huge thank you to Code the Dream for partnering with us for this conference. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A tab and we'll answer them at the end of the session. You can also use the regular chat to communicate with us and other attendees during the session. And with that, I'll hand it over to Daisy. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Welcome, everybody. It feels like fall today, and I'm delighted in this weather, and I hope you're enjoying it as well. So I have to start off by saying hi, y'all. I love a conference where I can say y'all. It's wonderful. My big goal today is to present the startup mindset. So the startup mindset is a framework which can help us create more innovative, inclusive, and equitable workplaces and communities. By examining the mindsets that startups use to launch services and products that are so convenient and keep us connected, I believe we can tease out some thought patterns that will help us put new and bold ideas into the world. My name is Daisy Magnus-Aryitey. I am a co-founder at Code the Dream, a tech nonprofit based right here in the Triangle. Code the Dream is a development shop that specializes in public interest technology, or tech for good. For example, we build apps for homeless families, migrant farm workers, and many other marginalized communities. In addition, we're also a code school. So we train people from low-income, underrepresented backgrounds in some of the most popular software development languages and frameworks. Over the past 6 years, using startup strategies like agile thinking, user-centered design, and intentional iteration, we've been able to create a unique win-win where our participants launch careers with enormous opportunities that really change the economic fortunes for themselves and their families, all while building the creative solutions to really complex and urgent problems. So as a software engineer, as a nonprofit leader, and a mom, I really excel at solving problems. But to be clear, I'm also skilled at causing some problems too. I don't shy away from stirring up good trouble, necessary trouble, the kind that pushes us towards innovation, impact, and justice. So my plan today is to stir up some good trouble. I'm hoping to push you out of your comfort zone a little, maybe a lot, as we explore together the startup mindset. So author and researcher Gary Schoniger describes the startup mindset as the underlying beliefs and assumptions that drive the behavior of successful entrepreneurs. At its most fundamental, a startup mindset examines why some people, like entrepreneurs and founders, are so adept at turning ideas into reality. But a startup mindset is really, it's not just about creating a company. It's also about turning our ideas around innovation and equity and justice, turning those critical ideas into reality. Over the next few minutes, I want to explore tacit knowledge and the secrets that entrepreneurs know. Next, I want to outline the 5 elements of the startup mindset. And then last, I want to give you one key takeaway. So the one thing to remember. Okay, to start, I'd like you to think back to the last time you had an idea that was so grand, so outstanding, and so full of possibility that it actually shook you to your core. What did that moment feel like? Did it feel like being struck by lightning or witnessing daybreak? Did you get the sensation that you were falling headlong into a story that was not yet written? Well, what happened in the next moment? So we've all had a phenomenal idea or two or three that makes our hearts race and really stops us in our tracks. We get overwhelmed with questions like, is this possible? Do I have the resources, the time, the network to pull this off? If you're like most people, that sensation of, oh my goodness, I should do this, quickly fades into, oh my goodness, I could not do this. So today I want to slow down time and explore the instant between those two thoughts. So I'm going to encourage us to engage in what education theorists call metacognition. Metacognition is thinking about one's thinking. And it describes the process of stepping into and examining our own thoughts. So it's a mechanism that can aid us in understanding our current thought patterns and enable us to prepare to adopt new mindsets. So mindsets that can finally enable us to act on those innovative and inclusive and game-changing ideas. Now, can I tell you about a time when I had an idea that was so grand, so outstanding, and so full of possibility that it shook me to my core? I had this idea when I was in first grade, so it was quite a few years ago, but it was a revelation that really shaped so much of my interests and ultimately my career. I got a picture of me in first grade, so you can picture me. This is my first grade class. Can you tell which one I am? I think you will. I think you'll figure it out. So I started first grade about 18 months after I immigrated to the United States from Accra, Ghana, in West Africa. So thanks to my hardworking and patient parents and a whole lot of Sesame Street, I could speak and read and write English by the time I started school. So I loved school, the crayons, the workbooks, the routine of it all. I remember one assignment in first grade where we had to identify vowel sounds. The teacher wrote a handful of words on the blackboard, and we had to categorize the vowel sounds that were in those words. I worked diligently, carefully cutting out the words and pasting them onto the designated sections on my construction paper. At one point, Glenn, the shy, sweet, brown-haired boy sitting next to me, and he's the one in the yellow shirt and the black tie. Glenn looked at my work, and then he looked at his, and he said, "Your paper doesn't look like mine. One of us is doing it wrong." And one of us was doing it wrong. We compared our paper with the other two kids at our table, and I was shocked to realize that it was me who was doing it wrong. Because I spoke English with an accent, I didn't categorize the vowel sounds in the same ways as the other kids. I had listened intently to the teacher's instructions, and I had carefully followed her directions. But there was nothing in her directions that could teach me the intonations of a native English speaker. So to a 6-year-old me, it seemed that my classmates had this secret understanding of language, that they were operating by some unspoken rules that I had just not picked up on. And it was bewildering and intriguing. And I was fascinated by the idea. I was really captured by the idea that there existed secret, unspoken rules of the English language. The older I got, the more clearly I understood that there are secret and unspoken rules everywhere. There are unspoken understandings not only in language, but in business, in organizations, and certainly in technology. So in 1958, chemist and philosopher Michael Polanyi coined a phrase to describe this sort of secret understanding. He called it tacit knowledge. So tacit knowledge refers to the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities an individual gains through experience that is often difficult to put into words or otherwise communicate at all. Tacit knowledge is spread through organizations without being documented, and possibly it's never even discussed or actively pointed out. So things like speaking a language fluently, or designing a complex technical system, or knowing how to build a scalable company All those require a type of knowledge that can't be put into manuals or documents or even YouTube tutorials. So from an academic standpoint, it's really an interesting way of understanding human learning. But from a practical standpoint, there is one deeply troubling thing about tacit knowledge and the prevalence of tacit knowledge. It is a barrier to inclusivity. Take, for example, the tacit knowledge that entrepreneurs possess. And this knowledge is a body of skills that is developed and shaped over time and in community. But what it looks like is an ability or a capacity that comes just naturally to some people. It looks like singular genius. It looks like skills that are concentrated in a certain segment of society and is inaccessible to the rest of us. So when we don't take the time and the steps to make tacit knowledge explicit, we end up locking others out of systems, out of processes, and out of experiences. So when it comes to the startup mindset, my goal is to make the tacit knowledge explicit. So for this next part, let me give you some steps so that you can begin to pivot into new ways of thinking and begin to act on your brilliant, outstanding ideas. So let me get into the 5 elements of the startup mindset. So the first thing that we need to do when we have a great idea is to understand that the idea itself is likely incomplete. We need to take the steps to uncover fully the opportunity. There's a saying that a startup is not one idea, it's 10,000 ideas. Therefore, we need to behave like a detective who is trying to solve a mystery. We need to behave like somebody who is putting together a puzzle. So really interesting problems that are worth solving, are interconnected. And by taking the time to dig deeper into an idea, to fully uncover the opportunity, we could stumble into something that we did not anticipate, something greater and something that was previously unknowable. So the second thing we want to do is we want to understand the user. So to do this well, the only way to do this is to talk to strangers. So if we're trying to build something for, say, retirees, we need to talk to retirees. And if we want to develop something to advance justice, we need to engage in conversations with people who have been denied justice. We need to spend time with the user in order to build a human connection. And this point is critically important. When we display intentionality around getting to know the user, we'll better understand their unarticulated needs, and our ideas will continue to evolve as we uncover their needs. The third step is to engage in micro-experimentation. So I used to work for a company called NC Idea, and in that role, we worked with a lot of startups, and we would encourage the startups to think big, but start small. So start as small as you possibly can. One of the common misconceptions about taking an idea and turning it into reality is that you need money. However, the opposite is actually true. Lack of money becomes an advantage because it forces us to think creatively, and it stops us from getting too invested in a half-baked idea. So we don't need an app or a conference or a brick and mortar to bring our ideas to reality. We have to step back and think, well, what can I do with a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint slide or a piece of paper? So we need to think, we need to try things on the cheap, and we need to try in the margins, on evenings, on weekends. So the next thing, the fourth point, we need to analyze the feedback that we're getting from our micro experimentations, right? What worked and why did it work? What didn't work and why didn't it work? The goal here is to get unbiased evidence that what we're doing and what we're engaging in has usefulness. As we analyze the feedback, it's really important that we expect to be surprised. So as we're going through our feedback, if everything is just sort of expected, everything is going just as we planned, we need to step back and check for bias in that situation, because pattern recognition often leads to a cognitive bias. And so as you're analyzing feedback, we really should be expecting to be surprised. Lastly, we need to embrace the pivot. So over 90% of startups fail in the first 5 years. That is a startling statistic. Yet entrepreneurs still embrace the adage of fail early and fail often. So failure is not the end of something. Really, it's an invitation to pivot and try something new, something that is more useful, something that has the potential to have a greater impact. So this pattern for innovation and inclusivity is illustrated in the origin story of Code the Dream. At Code the Dream, our mission is to provide educational opportunities that change lives while building technologies that benefit our communities. So over the past several years, Code Bootcamps have grown in popularity. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Code Bootcamp, it's an accelerated computer science course where people can go from almost no knowledge to enough web development skills or data science skills to start a career. And the Code Bootcamps often run 6 to 9 months or so, sometimes even shorter. So Code Bootcamps sprung from the idea that there is a recognized need for diversity in the tech space, and there are countless smart and talented people from underrepresented communities who could excel if only they could get one of those jobs. And so there was an opportunity to connect the two parties, hence the rise of the Code Bootcamp. But a lot of these Code Bootcamps come with a very steep price. They're often upwards of $15,000, even $20,000, and they require students to quit working and attend full time. So for people from communities that are least represented in tech, they often don't have the economic wiggle room to leave job and pay tuition on top of that. So these were our users. These were the folks that Code the Dream was targeting. And we asked, can we offer the same sort of educational, intense educational opportunity for free to people who can go attend part-time? Could we provide the same sort of opportunities for people from low-income backgrounds, recent immigrants, and refugees? We ran a couple of pilot programs, our first sets of micro-experimentations, and we learned that after completing classes with Code the Dream, people really needed more real-world experience in order to get the kind of jobs that they were aiming for. So we looked at that feedback, we analyzed it, and we came up with Code the Dream Labs. That's our in-house software development shop where we can provide apprenticeship positions for talented developers who complete our courses, who need those sort of real-world experiences and on-the-job experiences on their resume. So over the past few years, Code the Dream Labs has grown into a dev shop that employs about 20 full-time staff members and over 30 apprentices. And we have clients from around the country. Our initial failure to sort of recognize the need for real-world experiences, as we reframe that, has turned Code the Dream into a unique organization. It's part free code school, part development shop, all while providing opportunities for people to launch career, to move into the middle class, while developing solutions to these sort of urgent problems around homelessness, etc. So when I started with Code the Dream, I would often get stuck somewhere between idea and action. as we were launching, I would have several conversations with my mentor, and I would lay out my spreadsheets, and I would say, well, I've looked at the numbers, and I think that we can drive engagement if we just take this multi-step approach to implementation. And he would listen patiently. He would go, as I go through my analysis, and he would look through my color-coded charts. And then he would shrug his shoulders and say, well, go out and talk to people. Go and try it. My instinct was always to sit and think a little bit longer on the problem, but he would always encourage me to go out and try. Go out and try something. So this go and try it approach is really the essence of a startup mindset. It's movement, it's action, it's in movement and action that we build. The best summation of the startup mindset is this: we must go in order to know. As we go, as we move, as we talk with users, as we micro experiment, that's how we know. That's how we know whether our idea is bringing the impact, having the outcomes that we desire. We must go in order to know. So in conclusion, a startup mindset prepares us all to seize opportunities, to affect real world change, and to succeed in a diverse and dynamic world. Now it's your turn. I want you to go out and uncover some, oh, sorry, I went back one. Oh, sorry, my slides are headed the wrong way. Yes, now it's your turn. It's your turn to uncover the opportunities, to talk to strangers, to embrace failure, and to stir up some good trouble, the kind that pushes us towards innovation, impact, and justice. Thank you.
Awesome, Daisy. Thank you so much. That was great. I feel like I'm resonating a lot with what you say. I'm currently at a startup. Yeah, so a lot of the things that you're saying really stood out to me, like especially, it's not one idea, it's 10,000 ideas. That has been totally true. And actually we have had a lack of funding. So I like your point that you can be a little more creative when that happens. That was wonderful. And especially that, if everything is going as planned, to check your bias. I think that's something that we've really experienced too, because, I'm the only designer on our team. And so there's just a lack of other perspectives around. And so I think I need to follow your advice and just go out and talk to way more people.
Yes, make sure you're talking to strangers too. That's when you get the best.
Exactly.
Right? Best feedback.
Absolutely. And I mean, that can be kind of scary sometimes, right? I mean, do you have any advice on tackling that?
Well, I think if you were to flip it around, and if a stranger came to you and asked for your opinion, would you be honored, or would you find it off-putting? I think people are quite generous, and I think people want to connect with other people. And so when we go and we talk to strangers, I think we can expect that 9 times out of 10, people will be patient and generous and just give us great feedback.
That is a really, really good point. Because of course, when you just said that to me, I'm like, of course I'd talk to them. Of course. And of course. So yeah, that's a really good point. And it's hard to think about it that way sometimes, but I'm going to write that down. So let's see, do we have any questions or comments from the audience? I see lots of claps. We like that. All right. Oh, okay. It looks like we've got one question. And it says, how do you find your clients?
That's a great question. So we don't have a firm sales channel yet, and we don't have a sales engineer on our team. And so really it's by word of mouth right now. We're always looking for clients, but we kind of have sort of an ecosystem that shares who Code the Dream is and sort of what kind of projects we work on. And so once we connect with one organization, they're usually pretty quick to say, oh, you know, who else could use some tech help, and that's how we've grown so far.
Yeah, that's really, really important. Networking and knowing new people in the field. I mean, that's like, yeah, that's the biggest advantage for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, I think that covers all the questions. Do you have any final thoughts before we head out?
No, thank you all so much. This has been it's been great connecting with you, and thank you, y'all, for inviting Code the Dream.
Yes, thank you so, so much. We are happy to partner with you guys, and I loved learning more about it today. So thank you so, so much. And if y'all want to reach out to Daisy, she left her email up in the top of the chat. So feel free to reach out, say hi. And other than that, we'll let you guys go enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.